Hey, what's up, guys? This is episode 44 of a series where we examine the cut content, design, and development of Fallout New Vegas. As we near the end of this series, we're taking another deep dive into FNV's cut content. Back in the Great Khans video, I talked about a cut quest involving an initiation ritual. If the player managed to fight off several opponents in unarmed combat, they'd be allowed to join the Great Khans. There was cut player dialogue that revealed the player could cheat somehow, and it turns out it likely involved taking chems. Here's why.
Nothing really. Just trying to psych myself up to try my initiation. Again.
During the quest, Crimea River, the player helps Jerry the Punk join the followers of the Apocalypse as he can't complete the Great Khan's brutal rite of passage. However, the player was meant to have the option to help him join the Great Khans. The player needed to get him several doses of Med-X first, and could acquire them from Jack, one of the Great Khan's drug dealers. There's even dialogue for this part of the quest.
Cheat? The only way I could cheat is if I was so doped up on painkillers that I don't feel anything. Really? Wow, okay, thanks. Whoa, you were serious. Okay, yeah, this might just work. Thanks.
It seems likely this option was cut alongside the initiation ritual. Back in the NCR video, I talked about the quest Return to Sender, and it actually has more cut content relating to the Great Khans. A cut note called Kudlo's Log reads, "After action for Incident FS-87, victims include 4 NCR militiamen. Squad was most likely on an unregistered patrol, as they were not being observed until after the attack. Assailants believed to be raiders, likely Great Khans with hunting dogs. 2 dog corpses were left in the scuffle. Tracks suggest as many as a dozen in the attacking pack. Threat assessment, trivial. Great Khans with dogs present virtually no matter of trouble. Incident likely caused by unskilled NCR patrolmen failing to radio us for eyes on backup. First, this suggests there was meant to be a Great Khan attack on Ranger Station Foxtrot. In the final game, the player investigates a report of the Great Khans attacking the base with Deathclaws, but after talking to Ranger Kudlo, it's discovered that no attack took place at all. This cut event would have reinforced the tension and conflict between the Great Khans and NCR. It also suggests the Great Khans were meant to have their own variation of guard dogs. Perhaps this was cut because the Great Khans don't use dogs in the final game. Speaking of cut dogs, there are 2 unused dogs designated as Sheepdog 1 and 2. In-game, their names would have displayed as Tokyo and Nikita. Considering they're named, their owner or owners were likely meant to be important, but it's difficult to say given how little information there is.
If the NCR thinks White was killed by, say, members from the Scorpions gang, it may be enough for them to close the case.
A while back, I talked about all the cut content from the quest, The Whitewash, but there's something fascinating I overlooked. During the quest, the player discovers that Tom Anderson killed a missing NCR soldier, Corporal White. At the end of the quest, it's possible to blame the Scorpions for the killing. If you remember back in my video on the Scorpions, they're a minor gang of chem-dealing mercenaries based out of the Monte Carlo suites. After completing the whitewash in this method, Arcade has lines about the Scorpions being wiped out.
Interesting way of handling things. Very sub rosa. I don't know if the Scorpions deserve to be wiped out for something they didn't do, but that's one less problem Westside has to deal with.
However, if you travel to the Monte Carlo afterwards, you'll find the Scorpions are alive and well. And that's because the player was intended to take them out. An unused quest objective can still be found in the official guide, and it reads, "Complete the quest, frame the Scorpions gang, and kill them." Presumably, the objective to kill them was cut alongside the Scorpion side quest. It's too bad this minor raider faction was never fully fleshed out, as they had the potential to be really cool.
This here's where folks go when their luck runs out. Drifters up from the Republic, locals that can't turn a dime, drunken reprobates from all around. And if you don't have the caps to get onto the Strip, odds are you'll end up here.
Aerotech Office Park is a NCR refugee camp on the outskirts of New Vegas, but it's more like a barren wasteland than a refugee camp. A few NPCs travel there during certain quests, but even then, it's painfully empty. Originally, it seems that Aerotech was a part of the Wasteland world space, and it appears that aspects of the area were lost during its transition to an interior cell. The refugees inside Aerotech only ever use their AI package to sleep, even though other behaviors exist. For instance, they have an AI package to wander around the area, and it's linked to Aerotech's map marker out in the Wasteland world space. They also have some issues where you can hear lines from multiple voice actors from the same NPC.
Don't bother me, please. I really have more important things to do. Sorry.
That son of a bitch Keith cheated me. I know he did.
You lose all your money too?
Fucking magical. The refugees are named Office Park Refugee 1, 3, and 4. Refugee number 2 is missing and must have been cut entirely. Perhaps this character was part of a cut quest, but it's difficult to be sure. A merchant caravan was meant to appear here at one point and would have helped with the area's lack of characters. Perhaps it was going to spawn randomly or after the player completed some of the location's quest, but in the final game, it's always disabled. There are 2 unused NPCs named Billy Bettis and Pablo Miller who might have appeared here too. They were created back to back, and it's possible they were involved together in a cut quest. The characters used the 1E map prefix, revealing they were going to appear in the region where Fiend Territory, Aerotech Office Park, Westside, NCR Sharecropper Farms, and Camp McCarran lie. Beyond this, we can only speculate about these mysterious characters. Near Deadwind Cavern, there's an inaccessible area blocked off by invisible walls called SL4 Winds. Most inaccessible areas like this don't have unique names, suggesting it was at one time explorable. I think this would have been one of, if not the highest explorable location in the entire Wasteland world space. At some point, Obsidian added invisible walls throughout the map and blocked this area off. This was done to limit sightlines and potential LOD issues.
Welcome to the New Vegas Medical Clinic. I'm a fully qualified physician and can fix whatever is wrong with you for a reasonable fee.
In the original release, the New Vegas clinic closed at night and locked the doors before opening in the morning. This was obviously patched out for the player's convenience. There's an unused perk called Survivalist, but unfortunately only the Pip-Boy icon remains. In Fallout 1 and 2, it increased the player's Outdoorman skill, but in New Vegas, there is no Outdoorman skill. It's possible it gave the player some benefit to crafting, but it's hard to say. There's an unused evil gnome, identical to the one found in Fireroot Cave, called Gaudy Gnome. It's placed inside the Lucky 38 Presidential Suite and has the ID L38 Upgrade Gnome, revealing the player could once buy it for their room. In the final game, it's always disabled. The item's editor ID is Scott E. Gnome, a reference to New Vegas lead world builder Scott Everts. South of Camp Searchlight, you'll find a crashed Vertibird. There's an unused NPC called Vertibird Pilot who was seemingly going to appear here dead. He also has an item called Red Sector Keycard, and this was an homage to an encounter in Fallout 2. In it, you discover a crashed Vertibird with a yellow reactor keycard. At some point, the Vertibird Pilot was cut, replaced with a skeleton, and the reference to Fallout 2 was removed. Lake Lurks are mutated snapping turtles, inspired by the 1954 horror classic Creature from the Black Lagoon. They come in 2 versions, the regular lakework, and the lakework king. However, there's a third cut variation of the creature called Alpha Male Lakework. It uses the king model and would have been the strongest version of the enemy. It's possible there simply wasn't enough time to create a unique model to differentiate the creature. There's an unused character named Wasteland Adventurer who was going to spawn outside Goodsprings. He has AI packages to wander the area, hunt, and sleep in the same area where Barton Thorne makes camp. He also has some recorded dialogue.
Peace, traveler. You again. What you need, champ? Just a hunter out here killing things and hoping their hides fetch more than the bullets cost to kill them. Sign says you go south. Just look for the roller coaster. Oh, and don't go north. A caravan just got sacked up the road. That's a dangerous question. Ask the way a bandit might ask. But since we're close to town, I'll trust your good intentions. I could use some stim packs. How about some nice bloatfly steaks in trade? It just gets worse the further north you go. Death claws. Death in general. But it's your ass, I suppose. Watch your back out there. Whatever. Keep your guns loaded and ready.
Most interestingly, he was meant to flick the player off during one of his goodbye lines, but this was disabled before the character was outright cut. Many of these changes would have made New Vegas into an even better game. Ultimately though, all of this was left on the cutting room floor.